welcome back to another episode of Hammering Down. I'm your host, KR Hodges. Hoping y'all are having a great day. And for people who didn't see the title of the last one, and I didn't really talk about it in the last one, this is going to be a weekly thing. I wasn't too sure. I just kind of blindly hoped. But we are back with another episode of the weekly WFC, which is just a weekly update on Legion WFC. That one took a real genius to figure out. Look, we are back with the two people from last time. Matt, Kaylee, how y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. And we are now being joined by someone new for the first time, someone that Legion fans have fallen in love with very quickly because we like people who score goals. Norah Roller, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. For people who don't know you, you are from around, I think, the Pelham area, right? And then you are going into your freshman year at Furman, where you're going to be joined by a teammate, actually, which is really cool. But for people who are listening who have watched you, they're like, oh my God, she's not even a freshman yet. Yeah, you have been incredible. We talked about you last time on the last episode, just like how fast, how technical you are, and how just of a good of a finisher you are. But I mean, there's still growing pains along the way. As being a younger player surrounded by veteran players who have done the college game before, have you learned a whole lot through this very young season?
Yeah, I definitely think I have. Even though we've only played like 8 games or so, I feel like playing with players who are older and more experienced, especially in college, and I haven't been there yet, so preparing me for college. I think it's really helped me through getting prepared for college, but also just talking to these players and them giving me tips and pointers and what to do, and these amazing passes I'm being played in for my runs. It's so fun. And I love it, but it gets me excited for college too, playing with these girls. So
one last question before we talk about, the week that was in WFC. I do believe it's Maddie joining you, right?
Yeah.
So kind of, I guess, explain that. Was it kind of a luck of the draw that you both did it, or was there a conversation that happened like, hey, I got this offer, are you in?
Yeah. So I actually committed my summer going into my senior year of high school. And I knew that she was kind of talking to the Furman coach, but I wasn't really sure. And the Furman coach wasn't really communicative with me. They were kind of just like, yeah, you're probably going to be our last commit, but we're not sure. So I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of figured I was the last. And then on my official visit, like this past January, Massey was there, Maddie Massey. And I was like, what are you doing here? Like, she's not committed. And then I talked to her more, and she's like, yeah, the coach invited me because I'm really interested in Furman, and I might commit here. So I was like, okay, that would be awesome. And then I think the week after, she committed. So I was just like, I was just so hyped. But really, no, we didn't talk about it at all. She was under the radar for me. So, but I'm really excited that she's going to Furman too. And we used to play on the same club team, ECNL. So we've been buds for a while. Yeah.
Just as a plea from all Legion fans, please don't join Greenville Liberty, who also play at Furman. If you could stay here, that'd be great.
I'll come back.
Look, let's talk about real fast the match that happened yesterday. I'm going to start off with Mac and Kaylee. First off, trip, I think, to Columbia, not as nice as a trip to Chattanooga, personally. Yes, I probably had to take the I-85 or whatever, and through the middle of no man's land. And then the match kind of was what it was. I want to start with you, Mac, because you had a cool moment that was not a cool moment. You had a penalty save that fell straight to another player. Talk about that moment just a little bit, because there is the moment of you make the save and it's like, oh my God, I did it. And then it's like, oh crap, I have a job to do.
Yeah. So that's one of the things about being a keeper is that you never really get a chance to celebrate a big save. You celebrate after the game or maybe at halftime for half a second, and then that's it. You got to stay calm, because if you get too worked up, you're going to make mistakes. But really with the penalty kick save, had a hunch the direction she was going, dove that direction, save, and then it just unfortunately falls right back to her feet.
Mhm.
I didn't even really have time to get up. But, it is what it is. Can't save them all.
Yeah. And that was I'm Kaylee, what happened on that? Because for us on the live stream, there was nothing. And so it was like, okay, they're sitting here, their balls in the box, everything, there's a mad scramble. The ball's in the back of the net, no goal. Cool, offside, says the Legion fans. And then they're pointing to the spot, and we're all like, huh?
It was confusing on the field too, to be frank. So what happened is he called a handball on our right back. And personally, we all thought that it shouldn't have been called because, I mean, there was nowhere else for her to have her hands. They were right next to her body like they should be. But because it was in the box, they're probably going to call it anyway. But he had blown his whistle, and the ball had gone in the back of the net. So the other team was like yelling at him. They were like, you should have played advantage. And he was like, how was I supposed to know you were going to score? So yeah, he points at the spot, and we're like, well, guess it's a PK. And then Mac makes this amazing save, and unfortunately it went right back to the girl that had kicked it. So really nobody could get there in time, and she just put it in the empty net, unfortunately.
All Legion fans listening to this, hearing about a handball in the box that wasn't
yeah, seriously. Called and the one at the game. Wow, that was bad.
Yeah, maybe they don't all need to be called. That's my official plea. Norah, you started in this match, and you had a moment, I think, in like the 20th or so minute where you were kind of one-on-one with the keeper, it looked like, and then the defender kind of came out of nowhere and pushed you wide and kind of forced what looked like a tame shot. And I think for people who were, maybe not aware of kind of situations, she did a really good job at kind of shielding you to a pretty rough angle. Is there anything you felt like you could have done differently in that moment, or was it just like, she got me?
Yeah, I feel like I didn't get a lot of action up until that moment, maybe. I think that was one of my first ones, and one of my first runs. And I think my first touch was kind of wide in the first place. So if I would have probably touched it more central, I probably could have just outrun her. But I was kind of going at an angle. So, I mean, she did do a good job at closing me down. And she was pretty fast too. But I do feel like if I would have probably taken it more straight to the goal, I could have probably had a better opportunity and angle. But,
is what
always
it
good
is.
to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. That match kind of was what it was. There was a lot of factors for that one. And let's just move on because, it was what it was. But you guys on Saturday, I forget what day it is, Saturday, played in one of the more exciting matches I've seen recently. You guys get a 3-2 win over Southern Soccer Academy, which that was a match that Kaylee and Mac, you guys talked about before. That 2-0 win was probably your most complete win that you had.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come back, they have a couple of players that are playing a little bit more full strength, and they really take it to you. And the first, you guys score first. Ashlyn finishes it well, and then later on they get an equalizer, but Ashlyn doesn't care, and Meg's a defender, bottom corner. It's like, okay, this is it, and then they equalize late in the 80th something minute, where as a fan, I'm thinking, oh god, it's like the Tormenta match again. Like, what's going to happen? And then Morgan White with an absolute banger of a shot, which isn't even up for goal of the week. So who's even figuring this out? I don't get it. I want to start off with Kaylee. That match, I mean, let's talk about when they equalized late. Was there a moment of like, we can't do this 2 matches in a row?
Oh my gosh, yes. I literally was getting flashbacks to the Tormenta game. I was like, guys, we've got to score. Like, this cannot be the final score, please. So we were just like, all right, like, we just got to go forward. We got to take our chances. Like, there was only like 3 minutes left. So we were like, all right, we're just going to do whatever we can, put everything on the line. And luckily it worked out.
Mac, you had the moment of both goals were just mad scrambles in the box where it's like, it just couldn't get it away. Every single time someone tried to clear it, just somehow ran to another body, stayed into the box. Where are you in that moment? It's like, am I trying to collect the ball? Am I trying just to stay home and hope?
It's honestly, it just depends on the ball. 9 times out of 10, if there's a defender in the area and it's contested through traffic, I just stay home, let the defenders deal with it. Stay at home, be there, cover for if something goes wrong. But frankly, on those the goals, both of them, there were arguments for offside.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I asked the AR after the game if he knew who held the girl on for either goal, and he said, I don't know. Sometimes you know, sometimes you don't. Like, oh, okay. That's comforting. Thank you. So, I don't want to make excuses, but, there's always the argument that either of those goals could have been called offsides, but just needed to do a better job marking, and I stayed at home and did what I could.
Norah, I think you came on later on in that game, and you go in right wing kind of area, and you had a moment where it looked like you had a pretty good crossing opportunity, and you decided to take the shot on your own, and then immediately I can't remember who it was. It was like, hey, you got to cross that, and immediately you're like, yeah, my bad, hold my hands up, right? Um, and whenever you're kind of weighing up those options, because I mean, you are forward. I mean, you were kind of playing a wing area, so maybe it's like the idea of like, oh, maybe I should pass first, but also you got to be a little selfish as a striker sometimes, right? When do you weigh up those options?
For me, I think it's mainly angle. I've had lots of trouble in the past, in club, like knowing when to cross or shoot. But definitely when I have that angle, when it's on the line, you want to cut it back and cross it. Because unless, it's an amazing shot, it's not going to go in. But I think for me, it's also kind of like a feeling of where I am on the field, like field awareness and knowing if, there's people in the box, if I'm close to the line. But I feel like for me, if I'm closer to the end line, I'm going to cross it back. If there's no one in the box, I might try to cut it and go inside and shoot. But I think mainly when I'm on the wing, I like to cross it more, unless I have, time and space. But yeah.
You had another moment that was really cool in that match that it didn't lead to any goals or anything like that, but it definitely caught my eye where you were on the right side of the box and there was a defender with you, and she was taking you to the inline, right? She was taking you there, and then you just kind of cut back inside out of nowhere, and she just kept going out. And I have never seen a ball move with somebody's feet like it did with that. Have you always been like that kind of technical player? I mean, that was ridiculous.
I feel like that's definitely my biggest strength. And also I think I tend to read defenders' hips pretty well. So if I can tell that they're kind of pushing me out wide, I know, not to take another touch, instead to cut it inside, or if they're pushing me out wide and, I have that space there to take them on and cut inside. But I feel like that's definitely something I'm known for and have been known for. So I'd say yeah, but it's always really cool, like watching film, and I was like, oh shoot, like that did look good. It was pretty cool.
I think everybody who's watched you so far has been saying the same thing. It's like, whoa, that was different. Kaylee, someone who sits back there with you a lot in this match. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Ashlyn, who walked away with a brace, a well done brace, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my player of the match was probably Logan. She's incredible, and
Yes.
she's from Lipscomb University, I think, and
Yes.
she was, I hate to say, she was the best player on the pitch, and it was unreal.
Yes.
Did a
Just
great
for you, Kaylee, as a center back pairing, right? How's it? That side of the pitch is just locked down. How much more freeing is that for you?
Oh, it's amazing. It's great because then I don't have to do cover her side for her. Like I know that she's got it locked down. So it allows me to not be quite as stressed or have to run as much. And I can be more free on my side and more confident that we're going to get the job done on that side of the field. And I can worry more about my own job instead of others as well. So she's a great player. And like, I love playing with her because we have such good chemistry together.
Have you guys, and obviously we've talked about this last week with, Alabama FC and then like Busa, all that kind of stuff. A lot of you have played together for a long, long time. Is she someone that you've played with before?
Yeah.
Yeah, we played WPSL last year. We never really were on the same club team because she was a lot older than us. She's going into her 5th year at Lipscomb. So she was a few years older than us. We didn't really play on the same club team. But yeah, with WPSL, we got to play a lot together last year and then again this year. So it was just like we picked up right where we left off.
Yeah. This is my 3rd year playing with her, I think, at this point. She's great. Love her. Good player, good person.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like you guys have all played together forever. That back line, whenever it's working right, it just looks so seamless and like it looks almost impossible to break down. Norah, for you coming on, right, at the beginning of the match, there was a pretty clear attacking emphasis of early crosses into the box, put them in the air, put them in. And then towards the end of the match, it felt a lot more direct, keep it on the ground as much as possible. That's obviously seems to suit your style of game pretty well. But, whenever you're watching a match and you're saying, this is what we did in the first half, this is what we're trying to do in the second half, is there still a moment of like, maybe pull something from the first half that coach wanted us to do at the beginning? Or is it like, we're going to go straight ahead and just go with what all the second half game plan is?
Yeah, I did come on pretty late, so I kind of paid more attention to what Coach Nate said at halftime and what we were supposed to do then. But I think also I probably kind of play more suited to what I do anyways, like ground balls and running past. Although I do like getting long balls in and, running past defenders. But I think for sure knowing that I could outrun that outside back too was just something I kept doing. So I was like, I'm just going to keep doing it. And then Momo's goal, I mean, that just brought me, I was like, okay, I'm just going to play now. And I mean, I'm sure you could tell, I kind of started taking it to the corner. I was like, I'm just going to keep it on the ground. We're going to pass. We're going to take our time with it. So I think that kind of prompted some of that after we were up 1-2. But yeah, I usually just play more suited to what fits the game and what I play best. But yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and just call out the supporters, the supporter sections that were there for. I mean, if you try to come to the match now, I mean, there was nowhere to sit already at the Spain Park. I mean, that was packed out, and it was incredible to see. And there was a lot of people there who were not parents, who were not family friends, who were not, just whatever. They were just there to watch, and I was like, if they try to if the Magic City Brigade try to come in and say, hey, let's bring in the drums, let's do the whole thing, I don't know where they're going to go. I have no idea.
Yeah, there were people on the fence too. I was like, wow.
I mean, for you guys to see that big of a crowd and the stands completely full, and now that you got the one, I mean, people are going to come back. I mean, how exciting is that for y'all?
It's awesome, honestly. Love having a home crowd. There were some points, especially last season when this wasn't as publicized and stuff like that, where I had this running joke that whenever we did starting lineups, I'd walk out and I'd look to Kaylee and go, wow, look at that crowd.
Yep.
Ironically, 5 people in the stands and be like, wow, look at all of our fans, and the other day at Spring Park, I didn't make the joke because we actually had a crowd. It was great.
I mean, can I talk about that? I mean, has there been anywhere you guys have gone through these 7 matches so far that have even come close to what you saw at Spain Park?
I don't think so.
Not really.
No. It's mainly just been parents, I
Hollywood
think.
crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of unreal how many people did show up. I mean, obviously and we're going to move on to this Tormenta match, but that match, you couldn't see all the fans because they were all hiding in the shade.
Yeah.
But there were a lot there. I mean, there were still a lot of people there. It's just everybody was hiding from the sun. I mean, I think it's a little. I mean, you guys had to suffer, so why couldn't they? I mean, they're not even running. Like, first off, that match was really interesting to watch. It was very back and forth to the beginning, and then Grace got her goal.
Yes.
Just a really nice ball played in behind where, and no one seemed to follow her. And I was just having a conversation with the guy beside me, and then the ball was just kind of there. And I was like, what what happened? She finishes it really well. And
Mhm.
then it becomes just hold down the fort, and then late on concede. But that's still, I mean, a solid draw against the defending champions. It was that a feeling of, I mean, just the match itself. And I'm going to start with you, Mac. Where it's like we deserve to win, but it's also, that's still a really good team, and walking away with a point is still incredible. Like, kind of what's the feeling afterward?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we played well, frankly. We kept the
Mhm.
ball pretty well. We had our moments where, make mistakes, turn the ball over, but overall we kept the ball really well. The goal was great. And I think really it just came down to, it's like what, 85th minute, and we have the ball and we make costly turnovers rather than managing the game, managing the clock. But that's not to take away from the fact that we had a great crowd and it was so nice to play at home. Yeah, I mean, we played well, just conceded honestly not a great goal late in the game.
Kaylee, conceding anytime sucks. I think that is just truth of the matter. Not really a fun way to say that, right? But when it's late, do you just kind of sit there and it's like, what do you do to get back in it? Because it feels more deflating than like a 45th.
Yeah. Really, I just, knowing that we had played well the whole game up to that point, I still was confident that we had a chance, that we could still win. So I was like Mac and I were trying to like motivate the team. We were like,
Yeah.
guys, don't put your heads down. Like, I know there's not much time, but like we did it against them last time. Like, we can do it. So it's really just trying not to let like one goal get you down, because it's going to happen every once in a while. Like, the goal wasn't great, which I think was a little bit more frustrating for us. But I also thought that because we had played well, I was still confident. I didn't lose all hope. So
Norah, I think you came on late in that one as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So funny enough, during that match, the Inter Miami like social media admin, I was talking to her because she played at Alabama, the same time I was there. And funny, I was going to mention it to Ashlyn, if I was going to see her, but she actually took over Ashlyn's lease. Like, they live in the same house, like they played together. So she played for a long time, and Taylor Morgan. And so when you came on, Norah, we were just kind of talking, and she was like, "Who is she?" And I was like, "Oh, that's Norah. She's not even a freshman yet." And her jaw just dropped. Like, she could not believe it. But, trying to get to that second goal, right? And you're trying to get the second, trying to get the second, trying to get the second. I mean, their keeper was not catching a lot. Her instinct was just to punch away, punch away, punch away. For you, at what point are you trying to say, hey, this ball is coming toward her, retreat back and hope that she punches away? Or is it still apply pressure to her, force her to drop it, see what happens? Like, what do you do there?
I feel like trying to get the second goal, a lot of it was like press high, like pressure, like we want to get her to mess up. She did punch it out a lot, which is true, but I think our midfield being high kind of also could have gotten those balls. Um, but I mean, I think we could have probably, capitalized on some opportunities we had in those last minutes. But I mean, for sure, like I think a lot of it was just, step high, press, maybe she'll make a mistake and then we'll get a touch in. And that was my kind of mentality. But I mean, I was just in the last kind of like 30 minutes of the game. So, yeah.
I mean, I this is obviously still the same day as the Inter Miami match, right? Did you guys stay for that one or no?
We did.
Yes.
You did. You guys had just played earlier that day at 3:00 and then had to watch other people fall and cramp when it was about 30
Kaylee
degrees
said
cool. It
that.
was about 30 degrees cooler.
Oh
And
my
I don't
God.
think I saw a single one of y'all.
No,
go down.
nobody.
That was what we were talking about.
Kaylee and
during
I
the
said
game.
that during the game. I was like, I'm about to go to Twitter and say we kicked off at 3:30. It was 90 degrees on the hot turf, and not a single one of us laid on the ground for 10 minutes.
I mean, look, there's always been I think every time you go on like Twitter or you go on like Instagram, whatever, there's always those highlight reels of like when someone in the women's game just like bleeding everywhere and she's still playing on, and then
Yeah.
the
Yes.
Inter Miami match. Is there just ever a point? Yeah, like you said, just go on Twitter. It's like you guys are soft because like
I was constantly yelling, like, just get up, get off the field.
I was
You're
sitting-
fine.
I was sitting next to Kaylee, and Kaylee goes, "This isn't even watchable anymore."
It wasn't. It was so infuriating watching it.
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh. Like every
so-
5 minutes.
it was a lot. It was a lot. And you know, we've talked about this, and there's a whole lot of stuff that happens when it's that hot out. And you know, obviously, like you said, Norah, you only play the last 30, right? But I mean, especially when you are a streaky, you know, winger, right? You know, occasionally goes up top. That's your job is just full out sprint. I mean, how do you catch your breath afterward even? Because like it was so hot, I was dying. I was just watching and I was like, oh my, this is awful. Where were you?
Well, I came into the game and I was like, yeah, I've been sitting out for 60 minutes. I'm good. Like it'll be fine. And I was watching these girls like, oh, they're still running. It's okay. I did not expect what happened when I went out there. Like the field is huge and the turf just makes it that much hotter.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not expect so much like just the sun beating down on me. I just I mean, okay, catching my breath, I feel like I just like in those little moments I was just like I need to walk or jog just like a little bit as much as I can. But I feel like it was manageable to an extent. 30 minutes was still a lot of time on that field. So
Huge.
I don't even know how you guys, I mean, Mac, you're in the goal, but like Kaylee, I think
walked,
after
yeah.
the game, I was like, Kaylee, how did you play all those 90 minutes?
The only reason I was able to make it the full 90 was because every time the ball went out of bounds, I told Mac to walk as
I
slow
did.
as she could. We
I-
built that clock.
Okay, so our ball girls, they didn't have balls. So whenever the ball got kicked out of bounds, they had to go get the one that got kicked. And I just remember I was at halftime, I was like, if we go down, we got to make sure these ball kids get balls. Otherwise, don't give them any. We're going to take our time.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, there was the Southern soccer match. There was two little girls, like 2, 3 years old, and they just had the balls, and the ref was like, "Give them a ball, give them a ball," and they were just.
I felt so bad for them.
It's happening at so many games. The ball girls are 6, 7 years old in little groups of 3, so they're not paying attention.
Yeah.
And so I remember it was at Chattanooga specifically. I walk to one side of the goal. I look at the ball girl. It's like both hands up, just staring. I'm like, hey, what? They don't see me. So I walk to the other side of the box. I'm like, hey, can I have? And then, bless her heart, this little girl, she jogs like 10 yards over to me and then musters all the strength in the world she can to throw it. And it was 5 yards. And I still have to jog to go get the ball.
That one was the one that Southern Star. I mean, the girl had to be like 3 years old.
Oh my
and
gosh, she was so tiny. She
Yes.
was so cute.
And the AR was just like, give them a ball. And they're just like waddling over and then just rolls it and it goes nowhere. So she picks it up and then like a parent goes and gets the other ball. And I was like, this is like, who let them do this?
On my goal kicks for the last few minutes, I remember telling the ball girl, I was like, slow down. Stop running over here. Slow down.
I kind of wanted to ask you guys the difference between playing at Protective and Spain Park because the pitch at Protective might be the widest possible dimensions I think you're allowed to have, and for it to be turf and it's hot. And Spain Park is, I mean, obviously little dents and divots. What field doesn't have that, right? But I mean, it's grass, it's soft, it's nice, it's not massive. How do you go from playing between the two? I'm going to start off with Nora.
Yeah, okay. I much rather like Spain Park. Being obviously a wide player. I think, I mean, at first when we were doing warm-ups, like Mac and Kaylee, we were joking about how we were just running and like just creating so many divots like in the ground because the ground is so soft. And it didn't even like rain. They might have like put sprinklers on it, but it was just like soft. And I was like, I'd rather kind of have this over Protective even. Protective is good turf, and I do appreciate that, but it is so wide. And at 3:30, like, there's no way. It's crazy. But I mean, our Spain Park game, I think, was it at like 7, right?
Yeah.
That was so much better.
Yeah.
So much better. I mean, I prefer Spain Park over Protective. But I mean, that's also just preference too. And I mean, the stands are smaller, so it does look like we have more fans. Just saying.
Yeah,
It's a plus.
true. Obviously, Mac, you generally stay in one area. But like Kaylee, even like center back, you're kind of generally in a certain spot. You don't go past halfway too often. But you're still having to deal with width because I mean there are moments that you're having to go out a little bit wider to defend that mostly is a fullback area that you're just having to go to. Is it like, other than the heat, obviously, how much different is it having to cover that extra 5 yards constantly?
Oh my gosh, it's a huge difference. I mean, so Spain Park's field is actually really narrow.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like there were times where like Mac would play it, I would play it, like some of our other players would play like a long ball and we'd overhit it like we would at Protective. And on Protective, it would be a great ball. Like it would make it through and still be in the field to play. But in Spain Park, it just goes out of bounds. And you're like, oh, like I can't too hard. And that happened a few times to us, especially because we went like straight from Protective to Spain Park. So just two very different fields. But running wise, Spain Park is very nice because it's a lot smaller and cover quite as much space. And it makes a big difference at the end of the game.
I prefer the turf at Protective, honestly. I know it's not the heat isn't as big of a factor for me because, I walk for 90 minutes. But but having the width, especially when we do have the ball, gives us so much more time on the ball in the back. And it gives us more rest, honestly, to just play the ball side to side, catch our breath. And then, it kind of makes up for how wide the field is. And then personally, the goal box at Spain Park was honestly lots of divots. In the goal I was in the first half, there's a 6-7 foot strip of sand inside the 6-yard box. So not my favorite thing in the world as a keeper trying to deal with that, but I prefer grass over turf any day, but at least the surface at Protective, is consistent.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you're luckily y'all's next match, or unluckily, whichever one, is that Protective. It is another early kick, but this one is going against Chattanooga, who we talked about last time. They kind of took it to y'all, whether it was because you had to stand in a tiny locker room forever, or hey, they came out with a little different physicality than you guys were ready for. That last 30 minutes was all Legion, and I think you guys know that as you're preparing, and not only just that, but you're also preparing knowing kind of what to prepare for in terms of heat. They have no idea what they're walking into with that. They may have an idea, but they don't know. How are you guys feeling coming into this one?
Honestly, I'm confident that we will do better than we did last time.
Yes.
I'm much more confident in that. I think that we'll have a good roster, especially because it's home. I think that we know to better prepare for hydrating and making sure that we have all the water and sports drinks that we need, because you really need it at that time of day, that kickoff. I just feel like we're more prepared now that we've also had a game at Protective and we know what to expect.
Yeah, their facility is turf, but it's definitely nowhere near as big or wide as Protective. I think that's going to be a real difference in the game, is having that one game at Protective where we know the surface, know the size of the field.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously the scoreline between you two at the last match kind of was what it was, right? But really the biggest difference between you guys and Chattanooga this year has been they've won a lot of their matches by a lot and don't really draw a lot, while you guys have had more closer matches. I mean, this is just me, pure fan speculation, right? But I mean, there has to be a moment for them that you guys come out, kick them in the teeth a little bit, and even if the match is close, there's like a little panic of, we have not been here. We just win by a lot. And then the way that you guys handle the last 30 minutes there, after you were like, okay, we can be just as physical as you, we can do everything that you do. Is there something about that of coming in of like, this is our place, we are prepared for you, you aren't fully prepared for us because we were not our best versions of us? Is there something real to that?
Yeah, definitely. I just feel like we're going to be better prepared in all aspects of the game. And now we've seen them and we know that the way that they play, we know who they like to. We're just going to be better prepared all around. So it just makes me more confident that it's going to be a much better game than last time. And especially after seeing how well we played the last 30 minutes against them, that makes me even more confident that we can do that for a whole game.
Yep. It'll be my game. Love to go out with a bang. Love to go out with a win.
Yeah.
Yes. Or at least make them scared a little bit.
I mean, you guys there's still, I think, 5 more matches. 4 of them are at home, including this one. And there's a couple of, these little rematches, right? You guys get to go against Tennessee again, where you drew last time. You guys get to go against North Alabama twice, who are, I mean, I don't want to, sprinkle too much of positivity, but they're down there, right? You guys get to go against South Carolina again, and you obviously have this rematch. You guys have a game of hand against Chattanooga. Obviously, for people who don't realize, to make the playoffs for USLW, you have to be at the top of your division or be in the wild card spot, which I think is just the highest points per game who missed the playoffs. I mean, you guys win your game in hand and go on. Like, you guys are right there. Norah, first, going into this homestand after being on the road forever, and what's ahead of you, you have an uphill battle to climb. Is that a nice goal to have, of like, we know what we have to do?
I think so, definitely. And like you're saying about like the Chattanooga match coming up, like having a mindset of, we've played well against them in the end and we have the upper hand at this point. I feel like it's becoming more and more possible, which I think is kind of making that mindset more like ready, available, like going into it for sure. Definitely having a goal. And I mean, I've seen it like happen in like 3 games like this past year, with Tormenta and with this past one at Spain Park. We were down and then we just like get these crazy goals from people who just have that mindset. And it's like the most amazing feeling knowing that and being comfortable with, that score and that match and having these players who can do that. But I think definitely this team can definitely pull it out. Even if like we go down, a couple, we've done it before. So yeah, I think the possibility is definitely there for sure.
Kaylee?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that it's possible. We just need to go out and execute. Obviously, we've shown that we can. It's just putting it in execution in the games.
Yeah.
And
We've got time to get our legs back. We've had 3 matches in 6 days.
Yeah.
So, hopefully we've got our strongest roster ready to play this weekend, and we'll be able to get a win.
yeah, and for people who are looking to come, I think it's a 3:00 kick. I know the supporter sections are going to be there at 2. The 3:00, the WFC and the men's team is going to be for the supporters anyway. Their Pride Night, so go out, fully support all of that. Support both teams, obviously. I'm super excited because this is also just me, and not to put any more pressure on you guys, but when Legion played Chattanooga Red Wolves, they beat them 4-1. At their place, you guys lost 4-1. So you guys, this is the aggregate score. Who is the overall winner? So no pressure or anything. But I guess first with Norah, because you're our newest guest, anything like where people can find you, like social medias, if you want to plug that, or final message for fans.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Norah Roller. I guess final message, just it really helps. I feel like our team, when you come out and support us, especially when we have to endure the heat, you should too. It's all fun, but I think for sure come out to our game this Saturday. I'll be there in some form. So, but yeah.
Beautiful. Kaylee?
Yeah, all the fans we can get, we would love to have you, especially because it's a Saturday this time, so you don't have to get off work. So
True.
no excuses now. And hopefully we'll see Norah the Scora.
And Mac.
Just looking forward to being at home and, getting a couple of days off, recovering, and then getting ready to go play a really good team. Hope there's a good crowd and can't wait.
Yeah, sunscreen, people. Sunscreen, water. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be okay.
It's good to be outside. It's good.
It's good for you, promise. And plus, it's early enough in the summer. You can still get your tan if you haven't done it yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Great excuse. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. The amount of people who listened to the last one of these was really cool. It did better than most of the episodes on here do. So there's a lot of love for women's soccer in Birmingham, and continue to love it. Continue to be excited. Spread the good word, because there is a lot of good word to be spread. But thank you all so much for listening. Appreciate you all so much. Till next time, guys.